Hi, what is up everybody? I promised more Bookmas videos, so here they are. Today we're going to be doing the top 10 books that I read this 2024. I do not have all of the books with me. Unfortunately, some of them I did get at the library, but I will be inserting a picture and reading my review and reading what the books are about. I also would have done more books, but I only ended up reading 22 books this year, so I was like, wow, I can only do like so many books. They were my top books, but then again, a lot of books that I read this year were kind of disappointing. So let's get into it. Okay. Needed that. I'm gonna start with the books that I have here on hand, and then I'm gonna get into the books that I'll do the books that I don't have on hand at the end. So first we're gonna start off with Priory of the Orange Tree. It took me a whole month to read this book because I am in school, but let me tell you, I enjoyed that entire month. My mind was blown. Every single page had me had me wanting to read more. I did have a few problems with it. Like, there were a lot of like literary problems, but those were just like because I'm in English. Like, I studied English. Like I studied English literature, and it bothered me that there were some problems, but I can get into that in my review. So let me just read to you the back of the book. It says House Beneath. This is a fantasy book, by the way, and I cannot pronounce any of these words, by the way. And I also have a lisp, so y'all, I'm so sorry for this. The House of Burneth has ruled in East for thousands of years. Still unwed, Queen Cybran IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Ede Duran is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Ede keeps a watchful eye on Cybran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the dark sea, Tanya has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuse to play parley, and forces of chaos are on rise in their sleep. So basically, the story takes place in two separate sides of this world, like characters who live in the western side of the world and characters who live in the eastern side of the world. And there's this giant evil that's a giant evil dragon called the Nameless One, and he's rising. He was defeated thousands of years ago, but he's rising again, and they need to fight him. And then Tawny is part of the good dragon riders, which are it's different because the evil dragons are called Wyverns, and they fight. And then there's a giant dragon battle at the end with magic stuff. My only problem is the final battle and that finale of it. It's only a good 50 pages. If you're gonna have an 800-page book that's leading to a demon that's thousands of years old coming and rising, that battle better be more than 50 pages, bitch. I'm sorry. Let me get to my review and I can talk about it. Now, surprisingly, this is I don't know why I love that this is my top book, even though I only gave it 3.5 stars. But the reason I gave it so little stars is the ending. And there's a lot of bits that I like a lot of writing problems, like the prose and stuff, and also the perspective switching. And then also there are two perspectives that I felt were not necessary in the book because there's 4 main perspectives. Ede has a perspective, Tawny has a perspective, but then there's 2 men who have perspectives, Niklas Roos and Art Lothbeck. Loth, he has some important stuff, but Niklas doesn't really need to exist as a character. And honestly, you could have made a different female character to play those characters who don't do as shitty roles, as shitty things. He's a horrible person. He gets redemption in the end, even though he literally betrays our main characters at least 3 times. He betrays multiple of the main characters. Okay, he betrays Cybran, and then he betrays Tawny twice. It's, oh my god, this is a long review. What can I say? It's awesome. There's dragon riding. It's a fantasy book. It's not necessarily a standalone book. I don't know why I just turned my iPad off. There is a prequel book called Day of Fallen Night, and I'm about to read that, and she is releasing a new book. I forget what it's called, but it's a prequel to Priory. There's a kingdom in here called Yscalon, and it gets corrupted before the rest of the world by some of the Wyverns that rise earlier. And it tells the story of how Yscalon falls. So I'm very much excited to look forward to that. All right, let's see what's next. We have to do my password, guys. What else did I read this year? Okay. I don't have a review of, like, I didn't publish my review of this, but let's talk about this. The Handmaid's Tale. I had to read this for school. Like, I was in an English class, as I talk about. Yeah, and I ended up having to read this book. This was our unit book. And I don't know, what do I say? Just wow. I feel like, I don't know if it is a classic, but I feel like this should be a classic. Like, it's insane. Like, I had my issues with it. Originally, I had a lower review, but that was because a lot of my issues revolve around my personal trauma. Like, this made me relive a lot of personal trauma that I had to go through. And I wasn't, like, I hadn't quite worked through it, but I'm pretty well worked through it now, and it's, like, I look back and I, like, it's a genuinely great book. Like, and my problems are the fact that I'm a victim of things that have happened in this book, and I don't know if I should, like, have been reading that without, like, that knowledge pre-force. And my teacher didn't even, like, outright state, oh, you know, essay happens in this book. It does happen in this book, by the way. This is trigger warning. There's a bunch of essay in this book. And someone has to give birth to their, you know, abuser's baby. It's a lot. And my teacher gave us no warning, so I felt like I just, like, went into it raw. And that was my only problem, that I went into it without knowing what was happening. And I feel like knowing that, and, like, you have to process your trauma, too. Like, I had not processed my trauma. So process your trauma, know that. Take a deep breath before you read it. But, like, from, like, a literary standpoint, and, like, from, like, a point, like, our world was like this at one point, and it's very much can become like this at any given moment, especially now in America. Like, this book, I recommend read it to anybody, like, just as, like, a perspective book. Like, you will learn so much about the world from this book. And that is my favorite thing about reading books, is you, like, learn from the books. And as you can tell, I learned a lot. I annotated the freak out of it. I've got, let me tell you, this one I, like, mentioned what colors I did because I had to write an essay based off of it. So all of my, like, sticky notes have colors. They mean something. So the pink ones are, like, acts of feminism. The blue ones are gender roles that specify, like, oh, this is a woman's role, this is a man's role. I didn't have any, like, blue tags, but I always did I did green tags for those. But the green tags also mean, like, moments of identity where the character doesn't really understand what's happening with herself, and when she finds moments of empowerment. There's also all of the yellow ones represent religion, because religion is heavily ingrained in this book, and it's not just Catholic religion. There's also, like, all three of the Abrahamic religions are, like, used as a subplot for Gilead, which is, like, the society is what the society is called. It's called Gilead. And then also all of the orange tabs are, like, symbolism, like, literary symbolism and metaphors. Like, the colors, and also, like, the rooms that they're put in. They're basically, all of the, like, the handmaids are put into, like, rooms that are basically, like, rooms you'd find in a mental ward, because all of, like, the previous handmaids tried to, you know, because they didn't want to, like, what was happening to them to keep happening. I don't want to, like, spoil it too much, but yeah. I don't know, read the back of it. Oh, okay, here's the back. I'm gonna read it for you guys. In Margaret Atwood's dystopian future, environmental disasters and declining birth rates have led to a Second American Civil War. The result is the rise of the Republic of Gilead, a totalitarian regime that enforces rigid social roles and enslaves all of the few remaining fertile women. So basically, every single, like, fertile woman is grabbed up and is like, you're gonna have men. You're gonna have babies with all the men, and not consensually. Offred, the main character, is one of these handmaids. She's bound to produce children for one of Gilead's commanders, like one of the really, really high up people. Deprived of her husband, her child, her freedom, and even her own name, Offred clings to her memories and her will to survive. So basically, before all of this happened, she had a daughter and she had a husband, and she's ripped away from them. Like, literally, physically ripped away from them. There's a moment where they get caught from trying to escape the government, and she no longer gets to see them. and you don't know what happens, and you get all of these moments where she's like put into PTSD and like gets flashbacks of like all like literally of her past with her daughter, and like comforting moments and traumatic moments, and that's all she has is these like moments in time, and she sees them all the time, and that's also those moments of identity. And it's just so sad, like what happens to these women. And like there are also people that escape, like what happens to them. I don't know. If you've seen the show, I recommend reading the book. I've never seen the show because again, I don't think I can put myself through this again. But it's really bad. Not really bad, like it's really, I don't know why I keep saying it's bad. It's really intriguing. Like you just have to like be prepared. You have to like be in a good mental setting. Yeah. I'm a yapper, guys. I'm so sorry. That book I gave 4 stars to. I don't know if I told you guys. I probably will have it on the screen. Another 4-star book that we're going to talk about that is in this book is Make My Wish Come True by Rachel Lipcott and Alison Derrick. I have another one of their books, and I read it and I loved it. It's called She Gets the Girl. It's a story based on their love story. The authors are actually married in real life. They have 1 daughter, and they are expecting a baby, and they also have a dog. It's really cute. And yeah, this is just a really cute holiday romance. And I read it in October, so it wasn't like really like winter, but like it wasn't really like Christmas season, but I really enjoyed it. It's like an all year round book. It doesn't have to be read specifically in the winter, but I feel like it would have been better to read this. It's basically 12 Days of Christmas, enemies to lovers, and it's sapphic, and they're also childhood best friends to enemies to lovers, which is even better because they knew each other in the past. They have like real like trauma, and they both like had crushes on each other, and like bad things happen to separate them. And there's also fake dating, which I'm actually, I don't really like fake dating at all, but this book made me fall in love with the trope. I feel like if you put a trope onto sapphics, it makes any trope tolerable. Like, I despise straight enemies to lovers. Walla. Like, enemies to lovers? I'm yelling. I need to go to bed. Anyways. Arden, this is the recap for you guys. 12 days of fake dates. 2 holidays, 1 chance. Oh, one of the main characters is Jewish, so you get to learn a lot about Hanukkah, too, as well. Which is, like, insane. I love it. It's not just, like, a Christmas book. It's, like, it's a holiday book. Like, you're not just like, oh, yeah, Santa, Christmas, Jesus. No, you're learning about Jewish traditions as well. Okay. And then they have 1 chance to convince everybody they're in love. So Arden James is Hollywood's hottest teen actor, infamously reckless. She's constantly in the tabloids. She's getting caught for being, drunk at the clubs. She's 17. She's getting groomed by her agent to be drunk at the clubs, guys. But when her messy representations cost her an audition for her dream role, Arden and her publicist decide to make up a lie to flip the script. The publicist that's grooming her. Only for the lie to work, she'll have to head home for the holidays for the first time in 4 years. Caroline Beckett has spent the last 4 years shining up a stellar portfolio that will get her into the top journalism program, convincing herself that she could be less interested in what her former best friend and first crush has been up to since she left without a word. But when Arden suddenly shows up at her doorstep with the promise of a real byline in the Cosmopolitan in exchange for a write-up on their secret romance and 12 snow-covered holidays in their Christmas-obsessed hometown, Caroline can't help but be tempted into playing along. It should be easy enough to stand each other for 12 days to make their dreams come true, right? But when old feelings start to bubble up, so do new holiday wishes that might have Arden and Caroline falling faster than Christmas Eve snow. I don't know, this book was insane. I literally read it in 1 day. I sat down, I finished it. I was like, oh my freaking god. I loved it so much. Again, addictive. It was just insane. And it's kind of also a love triangle, but at the same time, and you're not really rooting for them to be together in the beginning, because Arden's not really like the best character in the beginning, but then you kind of are like, wait, y'all should make out. What? Okay. Next book on the list is Mark of Athena. This is the only Heroes of Olympus book that I read this year that's going to make it onto this list, and probably the only Rick Riordan book put on this list. I don't know, it's just insane. I loved hearing about Annabeth's perspective and just what she had to go through, and like just her relationship with her mother. I don't know. I love female demigods or demigods who have mothers or whose mothers are goddesses. Because that relationship is way more interesting than just like a father demigod. Because like, you know, gods are just like smash, get it over with. They have tons of demigod children. Female demigods don't really have demigod children that often, and when they do, they are put on such pedestals, and I love it. And like, it's so interesting to see how they function as characters and react to being on those pedestals, and I loved it. And then also like just learning more about Leo and like every other character. It's like such an interesting deep dive. This is the only book I actually gave 5 stars to out of the entire series. Like, everybody got a perspective in this book, and you're learning, and you're just constantly being informed, and that's my favorite part about this book. You're just so informed. And if you know the one thing about Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, Trials of Apollo, there are the narrators, the characters' perspectives you're getting, they're unreliable narrators, and you are not being informed on anything. So to be able to be informed on this much and to have at least 4 of the perspectives be reliable narrators, it's insane. I was like, thank you. You know what's happening. You are smart. I love you. Like, Piper and Annabeth having perspectives in the same book. Yes. Also, they should kiss. What? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We have a couple more books to go. Number 5 is Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't want to keep yapping for too long, but let me scroll down. Another 5-star book. Oh my god, insane. As you can tell, I annotated this book. I actually never read The Hunger Games before until this year, so I decided what better to do than actually to start with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And it was honestly way better. It was way better just like going in from the start, knowing what Snow was thinking and how he works his entire life was insane. Like, obviously I watched the movies, but I never like truly understood what was happening. And it's so insane. There are so many moments where it's like, oh my god, Suzanne, you are literally just copying and pasting what's happening in our society and putting it into a book. I can't even put into words how moved and changed I was from this book, because I just, like, so many things happened to me while I was reading this book. It took me, like, 3 weeks to read this book, not just because I had anything happening. It was literally the middle of summer. I just could not process it all. So much was freaking happening. Like, Snow, you're not a good guy. You're not a good guy at all. And Lucy, I love you so much, Lucy Gray. And I love that it was finally, like, I love that it was third-person perspective and not first-person perspective. It's not necessary. It's third-person limited, so you're not really getting, like, a lot of what's really happening around Lucy. It's mostly Snow. But again, you're not just, like, Snow in his mind, and you're, like, seeing him, like, the narrator's like, and then he kind of did this. Yeah, he shouldn't have. I don't know. I just can't even, I love this book so much, I can't even put towards how much I loved it. Like, that's, I don't know, I've never really had a book that I've loved so much, and I have so little to say for it, because it's blown my mind so much. And I feel like that's how I felt about The Handmaid's Tale a lot of the time, because again, when I find a book, and it replicates our society so well in a horrible way, it just blows my mind. Like, we need to talk about how horrendous we are as people, as humans. We're horrible people, and given the chance in a society where we can control and make whatever government we want, and there isn't a lot of people left that we can control, and we can just do whatever we want to them, we do whatever we want to them. Like, this isn't like, 7 billion people that we're controlling. No, this is just a few 100,000 people. And when you have only 100,000 people to manage, like, you can tell them whatever the freak you want and get them to control them. And then if you just, like, kill off people that don't listen and be like, I'll keep doing this to your children unless you listen, it's insane. I love the cycle of violence and punishment, guys. Okay, next we're gonna have more Hunger Games. I was originally gonna put all of the Hunger Games books on here, but I've already done 5 books. There's 3 more. You know what? Actually, yeah, I'm gonna do the rest of them. So 6, 7, and 8 are the rest of the Hunger Games books. I could talk about them individually. I could talk about them as a whole, as a trilogy. Yeah, again, it took me so long to process this one. I read this one from July to August, and then from August to September 11th, from August 1st to September 11th. Convenient, but that's when I went to the hospital and I read all of Mockingjay. I read all of these books. And let me tell you, even though she's an unreliable narrator, Katniss Everdeen has a whole lot of understanding about what's going on in the world and how horrible it is. I can't even begin to say anything. All I can say is Gale. Half these annotations are dedicated to the Geneva Conventions you broke. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like Gale because he is interfering in the love triangle, you know, blah, 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 Katniss and Sophia. I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that. I don't like Gale because he's a war criminal. He's a war criminal. And again, a lot of the problems are, oh, he blew up Prim. It's not even that. He willingly made bombs knowing they would hurt innocent people. But even before, he made those bombs before what happened to Prim. He made them like months earlier. He knew that those bombs would harm innocents. And he still was like, I think this is a wonderful idea. Again, every time someone's like, oh, there are innocent people in there, he goes, what if we use bombs? What if we just use bombs? What if we bomb them? Gale, sweetie, do you need therapy? Because you have such a big problem with the peacekeepers and how they, you know, every time someone does something wrong, they, you know, beat you up or shoot you or just like punish you. You're literally doing the same thing. Oh, they're doing wrong. Bomb. You're literally being the same people you're trying to, which is such the difference in Katniss, because she's like knows there are bad people in there, but she knows there are innocent people in there, and she's like, I do not care. We are not bombing that place, because even if there are 10,000 peacekeepers in that building, there's one district person, someone from the district in that building, and we are not bombing it. She's a Pookie. She's a queen. I love her so much. And Peeta, let me tell you, you see that flag? I don't have the proper flag, but I am a lesbian. But if Peeta Mellark from the books came up to me and started talking to me like that, I would question things. I would be like, ooh, I don't know. I can't. These are the last of the books that I have physically. But yeah, again, just like with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I'm speechless. These books have changed me. They have destroyed me. I don't know how they recommend these books for 12-year-olds to read. Like, I was traumatized. And again, yeah, this is a silly, cute dystopian novel about a girl who saves the world. But this is a book about a government that's literally enslaving its people. So, we're on to the two books that I do not have on me. I was going to use this to represent each book. So yeah, we're going to use this to represent each book, and we're going to put a Fable picture. That's my copy of 1984. I'm reading it for a book club right now. All of my books just fell over. So, the next book I gave... Oh, by the way, all of the Hunger Games are 5 stars. All of them got 5 stars. Except for Catching Fire. This one was 4.5. That's just because I hate Gale. What? Who knows? Okay. Did I talk about this one? No, I didn't. I've never talked about this book before. Okay, so the next book that I read was called Squire. It's actually a graphic novel, and I gave it 5 stars. And they were like, oh, it's a graphic novel, I'll probably get 5 stars, because you just like skimmed over and were like, wow, that was so great, the pictures were awesome. No. Again, I love books that are about like corrupt government and disorder, and like you know, corrupting the people you're controlling, like doing all that kind of stuff. And that's exactly what happened in this graphic novel. It's about our main character, Azia. She wants to be a squire so she can send money back home to her family, because she's actually like an immigrant, a part of these people that the government doesn't really like. So she hides her like mark that assigns her as part of these people, and she joins, and she's a squire, and literally every single day she has to hear people like berate her people who she's literally going to be a squire for, so she can fight against them. It's crazy. And then there she meets this like cute little guy named Daruk. He's not a little guy. He's like this burly 6-7 foot tall man. He's like 300 pounds. He's like pure muscle. And he sees her like fighting and is like, your form sucks. Let me teach you. Well, he's not like that. He's like, your form sucks. And she's like, teach me. And doesn't leave him alone. He's like, fine. And then like eventually one day they like are like, he's like, let me tell you my traumatic backstory, child. It's so weird. I know. Funny. But yeah, he does that. And then they have a really great relationship. And it turns out the government lying. The fact that the government has actually been fighting like Azia's people. Azia's people are completely normal and completely fun people who are just immigrants looking for a home. The government, they've actually been hunting Azia's people and just killing them and literally paying them to do illegal things. Like at one point the government pays multiple of Azia's people to stage like a kidnapping, but then they like defeat it's horrible, it goes wrong. They defeat the people and they go back, and then that's how Azia finds out. She finds like the one survivor and is like, yo, what's up? And she's like, your government literally paid me to fight you. And she's like, what? And then Daruk's like, yeah, they took my arm so that they could demote me so she could lie and tell everybody that your people are evil and so we could fight them. Oh, and then so they fight against the people, and there's this big battle, and then Azia people, it's like doesn't even like end like quite well. Like they could overthrow the government, but now Azia can never return home and she's on the run forever. Like what? Definitely needs a sequel. And yeah, a lot happens in it. It's like almost 400 pages. And I recommend it 100%. I don't know. The relationship, the most notable thing I have to say is the relationship between Azia and Daruk very much gave me Arya Stark and the Hound vibes. I have not read the books, but I watched the show and just like their entire vibe and relationship. I was like, Arya and Sandor, is that you? Alright, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking a deep breath for the final book. I'm scrolling to find my review. Can I find the review? The final book. I talked about this in my November reading wrap. This Ravenous Fate by Haley Jennings. It's a new book that actually came out this August, but it's also a duology, and the sequel is coming out next August. What? Oh my gosh, we love sapphic authors. And it's about a vampire and a vampire hunter, enemies to lovers, childhood best friends to lovers, to enemies to lovers. Again, can you tell that I have a trope favorite? Best friends to lovers, enemies. Best friends to enemies to lovers. Sorry, so much. Blah. It's a mouthful. But yeah. Layla and Elise were childhood best friends when suddenly Layla's father sold out. Elise's father sold out Layla's parents to the Reapers, aka the vampires. And they, Layla's parents, and they turned Layla into a vampire, even though she's a 14-year-old girl. And the first thing that Layla does is go to Elise's house and like tries to drink her blood, but it doesn't work. Like her family are vampire hunters, so they like beat her up and set her on her way because she's a 13-year-old. So a couple years pass, like 7 years, I believe. Elise goes to France to learn to become a pianist for a while, but then she finally comes back, and oh no, there's this war between the Reapers and the humans, and there's like an evil curse, and I don't want to give it out too much, but the world building in this book is insane. I've been yapping for way too long, so I don't want to keep this video going for so giving you guys like a full intricate story, but they're not necessarily vampires, but a bunch of like people of color were like tortured on like 100 years ago, and they were turned into like vampires, which were called the Reapers. And like as time goes on, if they don't consume enough human blood, they slowly begin to lose their memories and they become insane, and they also like become like creepy, gross husks. Yeah. But most of the Reapers are in like a gang that live in the Hotel Clarice. And then everybody who isn't in the Hotel Clarice are called Rogue Reapers, and Rogue Reapers are actually really bad, and they like just like kill anything. The Reapers who live in the Hotel Clarice are like, they eat animals, and then like they only have to like go out of the city to kill people because like the police are like, no, don't kill people. But then, like, the government is turning the Reapers into, like, creepy demons. And it's up to Layla and Elise, the two enemies turned detective partners, to figure everything out. And then, you know, all of their past tension sparks up. And they realize, oh, yeah, we're in love. And other things happen. And it ends on such a dramatic cliffhanger. And the girl, but by the time it ends, I can't even spoil it. It's such a dramatic cliffhanger. But I need it to be August right now. Haley, how could you leave me like that? Alright, so that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and unfortunately tomorrow there will be a blah 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 video recovering going over every single book I did read this year, all 22 of them, and I will be like showing you my ranking of them from best to worst. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video of my top 10 books of 2024. Yeah, now I'm about to read George Orwell's 1984. But yeah, I love dystopia books. I love books about our corrupt government, as you could tell from this video. So I'm very excited to jump into this and to get reading. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, click the like button and subscribe below, and check out my other videos. I'll see you tomorrow for more Bookmas.